Now pay attention, 00 Stephen. For your next mission, I've provided you with these milk bottle bombs. They should serve you well.
I suppose they will, T, as long as they're not milk duds.
And we are back. This is 24 FPS Presents. I am Travis. That is Steven. And we are in the middle of The Good, The Bad, The Bomb. We have talked about Sean Connery. We have talked about George Lazenby. We have talked about Roger Moore. Now it's time for a new James Bond. So we are watching the lowest rated James Bond film from Timothy Dalton, The Living Daylights. Now, he only had 2 movies that he did. We're going to get into a little bit of thoughts on that. But this one, The Living Daylights, 1987, starring Timothy Dalton in his first turn as the titular James Bond. All right. Quick one-sentence synopsis of what this movie is about. Then we're going to do a couple of reviews that we found before we jump into things. James Bond is sent to investigate a KGB policy to kill all enemy spies and uncovers an arms deal that potentially has major global ramifications.
That's pretty accurate.
Pretty accurate.
Yeah.
So this was, like I said, 1987, Timothy Dalton. We got a couple of reviews. Stephen, what are the reviews on this one?
Yeah, we did. This movie, so we have 2 of them, right? And they both are considered fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Not like 100% or anything, but we do have a fresh tomato meter. This one came in with the critics at 72%, which is, it's not bad, not great, but it's somewhere in the middle. That's a solid movie. That's a solid movie. 66% on the popcorn meter, so less audience enjoyed it than critics. But that's okay. We can get into why that is. I might feel like the 66%. I might feel like the 72%. We'll learn as we go. But we do have. I went ahead and pulled 4 reviews, Travis, because I wanted to be fair to Timothy Dalton, given that he only ever did 2 movies. I pulled in some good and some bad. We'll start with the bad, though, given that this is his worst of the 2. One of them says, "This is a messy film that really struggles at points to properly explore its actually interesting and smart plot." So it's okay. The idea being the plot gets lost in the stuff. This was Timothy Dalton's debut as 007, and it was already pretty clear that he lacked the necessary ironic touch that made the credibility-straining action seem fun rather than ridiculous. That person was not a fan of Timothy Dalton.
I see.
As with other Bond movies, the locations in The Living Daylights are more remarkable than its plot.
Okay, so
our third review, and yeah, I'm not going to leave it on the ground bleeding. I'm going to pick it back up with this 4th.
But it's interesting that we had a review that said the plot was smart, but it got muddled, and this one is saying everything looks pretty, but the plot is dumb. And somebody being like, Dalton's just not that good. So those are our negatives. What positive one did you find?
The positive one we have is, despite being hampered by an overly convoluted plot and 2 of the feeblest Bond villains ever, greedy buffoons Koskov and Whitaker don't have a quantum of menace between them, Dalton brings much-needed grit to the role. So we've got Dalton sucks, Dalton's great. Plot sucks, plot's great. And you're starting to see why we're at 72%. Movies are a subjective art form. And we learn that as we go through all these series of 24 FPS, is that beauty's in the eye of the beholder when it comes to movies. And we learned a little bit here, but it seems like this one the critics weren't kind to, but there were a lot of people that did love it. So
yeah, I mean, 72% is overall a very positive outlook. That's a 7 out of 10. It's more favorable reviews than none.
Yes.
And it's always tough when you change actors, especially somebody who had done it for as long as Roger Moore had. There was talk at one point that Roger Moore was going to come back yet again. Like he wanted to do, at one point he was saying that he wanted to maybe do one more just so he could wash the bad taste of A View to a Kill out. But ultimately he was still determined to just be too old.
Yeah.
And
I would agree with that.
Yes. The plot thing, I sort of get why the plot is a little bit divisive, because there's just a lot going on here. I think
Yes.
I think it's actually a pretty decent James Bond plot, because it's simple. Yeah. They're just greedy, arms dealing. Like, all we were missing was it being a volcano island lair, and you have like all of the, you check all the boxes for the blueprint. But it is what it is. I really like this cold open though. This cold open was real good.
Probably one of the best cold opens we've had so far. This feels like what GoldenEye felt like to me. This feels like we're getting to an age where the cold open is critical, to what's going to happen. Like, it just was action packed, gets the heart beating.
Yes,
didn't have anything lame going on. The stunts were cool. The setup was cool, but it was quick. It was a quick start.
It was, and I love the idea of it being a training exercise. That was going great. On. So it starts off with just the paintball, the paint guns, and then it turns into something more, because the cold opens are always detached from the main plot.
Right.
They're always just kind of their own thing going on. And I liked all of it. It was a good introduction. You've got multiple 00 agents going in, and we know it's a new Bond, so they're not showing the faces right away, and the other guys kind of look a little like, if you squint and you're far enough away, that could have been Roger Moore. Ooh, that could have been George Lazenby. You're not fully sure. Putting it in Gibraltar, like, great stunt work. The first stunt we see is 3 dudes just parachuting out of the back of a plane.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. I didn't know it was a training exercise to start with, and all I could think was, they're doing this in very bright light, and this is not going to work well. Like, they're going to see them coming from a mile away. But then I figured it out. I am slow. And when you mentioned the plot was kind of easy to follow, it is a straightforward James Bond plot, but we have found a movie that made me try to figure out what was happening the whole time, because we've spoken about it multiple times. I'm a simple person, and I need things spelled out for me. Agatha Christie will always defeat me, and James Bond will always be fun to watch, and I'll have no idea what happened. And we found the first movie to do that to me.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, that's your James Bond in a nutshell. Like, it is a lot of moving parts and convoluted stuff. This one, I think, more than some, will get to exactly why I feel that way. But no, I loved the cold open. And then we go into our opening credit sequence.
Yes.
Classic James Bond opening credits. Although, one thing different here is we've had like full on silhouettes or, gold painted and all of that. But this one, even when we did A View to a Kill, we talked about how 80s it was, and it had the bright colors, the garish color, but everything was still mostly silhouette. Mm-hmm. There was a little bit of stuff bleeding in, but this was just like, nope, just people. It's just, we're just going to show a bunch of random women that are not in the movie at all and are only in the opening sequence. It was fun, and it's a decent song. The Living Daylights by Aha.
Yeah, the vocals stood out, but everything else about it was just, it's an 80s song.
It was, you could tell this was oh wow, A View to a Kill did really well as a song, like number one in the charts and all of that. So let's go, because the end credits has The Pretenders. The Pretenders are credited with 2 songs, and one of them is over the end credits, which I think was new to this movie from previous ones where they played a different song at the end. But they were going to do the opening theme, and they decided kind of later on, no, let's stick with the 80s, synth pop style, and we'll get Aha, who was riding high off of Take On Me at this point.
Yeah, they were huge.
Couldn't have been, I think Take On Me was 85, I want to say. Mm-hmm. I don't remember exactly, but it was still there. They were still well known, so I get what they were going for. It's a fine song. There's nothing wrong with it. It is catchy. It's been going through my head most of the day.
And this is kind of that time where they're starting to do. It's becoming a breakout thing for a band to play a James Bond song. Mm-hmm. We get to this point, at least in our culture, when the Pierce Brosnan movies came along, that we were really waiting to find out who's doing the next James Bond song. Yeah. It kind of became a thing. Remember, like, Garbage did one of them. Tina Turner did the one. Everybody was waiting, and I mean, we still do that. Like every time a new James Bond with Daniel Craig was coming out, like I heard Jack White was doing a theme. Jack White's doing the James Bond theme. It's a big deal. But before this, and before Duran Duran particularly, it wasn't kind of like you weren't chomping at the bit to find out what cool band. And this brought it relevance because we're in Grandpa loves James Bond territory. Especially after Roger Moore. So when you bring it in and bring in a hot band that the kids like, and MTV can say, interview Aha and say, hey, Aha's doing the James Bond movie. It brings in hype to the kids, which is what you need to sell movie tickets.
Because prior to A View to a Kill, the theme songs were always, good. You had 3 different Shirley Bassey performed theme songs. We had Carly Simon. We had Tom Jones. Wings would be the closest to what we ended up getting from A View to a Kill on in terms of kind of a pop star sort of thing. But it was always like fitting the movie. And then A View to a Kill really was the sea change where it's like, oh, MTV generation, let's make the song even more of a thing than outside of the movie. And so, but it was good. I don't mind it. But we can't have a James Bond movie without a James Bond, can we?
No.
Who are you?
Bond, James Bond.
Timothy
exasperated way of saying it. Bond.
It's like, I guess it is. So Timothy Dalton, first time in the role. Now, we mentioned it back on Her Majesty's Secret Service. He was actually up for the role at that point. He got offered it, and he was like, no, because he was only 22 at the time. And way too young. And then he actually got offered it again for Diamonds Are Forever and also turned it down. And probably somewhere else in there, I think he got offered. And he wasn't the first choice to replace Roger Moore. Pierce Brosnan.
Even after that? That's right. Pierce Brosnan was the first.
Pierce Brosnan was up for it, and they had offered it to him, and he was going to do it because he had been doing Remington Steele. Remington Steele ended; it got canceled, and Broccoli was like, "Hey, come do Bond." And then NBC, I think it was NBC, had like 60 days to decide if they were going to renew the series or not. And on the 60th day, they decided to renew the series, and basically it became I think the quote from Cubby Broccoli was, James Bond will not be Remington Steele. And Remington Steele won't be James Bond. So he's either got to do one or the other. Because they were going to, NBC was like, well, we'll work out a schedule thing. So he can do the James Bond thing, but he can come back and do Remington Steele.
Like Michael J. Fox and Family Ties. We'll just, he'll work at night or whatever. Yeah.
And Broccoli was like, nope, not going to let that happen. And so because the way I understood it was, Dalton was in, but he couldn't do it because of scheduling. So like, all right, Pierce Brosnan's in. Nope, he's going back to Remington Steele. Oh, we can get Dalton again. So they go back to Timothy Dalton. Finally, after what? Because On Her Majesty's is 69, right? So
they've been chasing him for a very long time.
15, 16 years probably at this point, almost 20 years of dancing around Timothy Dalton, and they finally get him in there. I really like Timothy Dalton as James Bond.
Yeah.
I really like him as Bond. And I think it's because he's got the look. I think he looks great in a suit. He has a lot of that refinement that Roger Moore had, but he's got a little bit of an edge to him. There's a little crazy that you're not quite sure. Like Roger Moore, and we talked about some of it was the fact that in A View to a Kill, he was 58 years old or whatever it was.
Right.
And he was an older 58. But the thing with Dalton is you can easily see him being proper and having his vodka martini and sitting at the opera, as well as picking up a brick and just trying to beat somebody to death with it. And that's what James Bond should be. Like you get both sides of that coin from him. I just feel like he has that razor's edge if he could snap at any moment.
I came in different than that on this one, Travis.
Okay.
I struggled to like Timothy Dalton as James Bond, and I wish I could put my finger on why. And I've been rattling it around in my head. Something about the way he portrays him with the intensity, the edge you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
He has an intensity, but to me, that intensity overrides this cool that I'm looking for. I feel like there's less. He's got less of the cool, and I don't know how to define that. It's like Sean Connery.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. He just seems effortless. He's light on his feet doing everything.
Sure. I can see
and then
that. Yeah.
Timothy Dalton doesn't have that. He has an intensity, and he looks like he can do those things you say. He looks good in a suit. He wants the vodka martini. I'm just not buying. It's to me, it's like someone cosplaying James Bond, which is a weird thing to say because everyone who plays him is effectively cosplaying James Bond. But I think there's something about the way he plays him with like a clenched jaw at all times that throws me off. He doesn't look relaxed in the role. He looks like he's always after something. And I feel like the bar, I'm not saying like George Lazenby didn't do some of that or even Roger Moore. Roger Moore was really loose, but not cool. So it's not the looseness. I don't know what it is, but there's just something about the way Timothy Dalton plays him that I felt didn't quite encapsulate. I'm wondering if that carries through into the best Timothy Dalton movie that we'll watch next, and if I like him more the next time around. But he didn't have the spark of James Bond that I think even Pierce Brosnan brought to the role. Like there's something missing.
I can see what you're saying. I don't know that I fully agree with it, and I think it's because this James Bond has a little bit of the camp in it. It has a little bit of the silliness in it, but not to the extent that Roger Moore did.
Yeah,
and
I agree
it's
with
got
that.
The grittiness and some of the physicality that Sean Connery brought to the role. To me, Timothy Dalton is the biggest what if of James Bond. Like, we mentioned that with Lazenby and how he only did the one movie and he kind of wanted out, and it would have been really cool to see what else he could have done with the role had he really wanted to do it. And with Dalton, he only got the two tries at it before they sort of reset everything. But I'm curious what would have happened had he come along, say, 77, 79, because Moonraker or Not Live and Let Die. I think Moonraker, Spy Who Loved Me would have been very different if it were Dalton playing the role and not Roger Moore.
Oh, hands down. I don't want to say I don't like Dalton at all. I think he could probably play the role of James Bond in The Spy Who Loved Me, and I would have enjoyed that movie a lot more.
Yeah, I just feel like Dalton to me is a lot of what Daniel Craig brought to the role, the intensity that he brings to it. And he feels like, I think with Dalton, with Brosnan, and with Craig, they feel like field agents.
Yeah, sure.
More so than Roger Moore did. And some of that is doing stunt work, right? The opening sequence we talked about, but there are shots in that opening where Timothy Dalton is on top of a moving Land Rover while they're driving it. It's not just, there's a few rear projection shots. We always get those, but it's not obvious. It's not like the Roger Moore movies where it was obvious stuntman and then Roger Moore just swaying back and forth in front of a rear projection, never having been on the mountain skiing. Sure, there's stuntman shots, but there's also shots. It's like, that's Timothy Dalton hanging on top of a car that's driving along. This
stunt work in this movie is miles beyond anything we've seen so far. It is we are in a whole new ball game with action sequences. They played music while he fought henchmen and stuff. Like, it wasn't just quiet grunts and kicks in the butt. He didn't kick anybody. There was one kick that I remember in this movie, and it was a good one. And we did the old swing from the bars, drop kick thing. You got to have that. But none of that looked like Dalton held his own much better than Roger Moore ever did. Even Sean Connery ever did in the physicality. So I'll give you that for sure. It was not the physicality I had a problem with, and I didn't have a problem with any of it. But it was the quieter moments that I didn't see James Bond in that in Dalton.
That's fair. And I wonder too, if we had watched the first couple of Roger Moore movies, if it would have felt the same there, where they need to figure the character out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Got to learn how to play him and how to write to him.
Yes. That's the other part of it is, we talked about that. I think it was Spy Who Loved Me, where they were finally writing Bond for Roger Moore, not Sean Connery. This felt like there is a little holdover of Roger Moore style. There's quips, but I think Dalton, I wish he would have gotten more than 2 movies is basically where I fall on it. I think he deserved a little bit longer of a run. And the flip side of that is obviously if he was in it longer, we maybe don't get Pierce Brosnan for GoldenEye, which we'll talk about in a future episode. And that would have been a shame, but I just really liked him. Also, I love that. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Before we ran on to the next thing, I just wanted to make a point that I noticed in this movie, our treatment of women markedly better. And I know we can talk more about that as we get into the Bond girl section, but the Bond himself did not slap anyone and immediately sleep with them, which was a huge difference in how they've been treated just in the previous movie. It was a whole different game where you were seeing Bond form at least a tenuous relationship with someone before they went to bed with each other. It wasn't just like, hey, I walked in the room, make out with me. It was so much more earned, and I liked that a lot.
I did too.
It felt more natural. It felt like a much better. Bond didn't disgust me. Yes. My child didn't look at the TV and go, he's being disrespectful. It was like it was a marked difference in how it was treated that made it more easy to watch and not feel so gross.
Yeah. I have a couple quick clips of Timothy Dalton because I think, I could be wrong, but I think this is the first time we actually get him ordering a drink.
Oh. And
they showed up at the hotel, and I love it because of course it's James Bond. He's a secret agent, yet all of the hotels know who he is by name. It's great. Love that. But you're like walking up, your usual suite, sir? No, I need something with a second bedroom. Like, wait.
Yeah.
Suite doesn't. Okay. Anyway, but then I love that the concierge is like,
Should I have said vodka martini sent up?
Shaken, not stirred.
Of course.
Of course. See, but too, that scene talking about I need a second bedroom, that's back to the fact that I'm saying they were treating women better.
Yeah.
He's not assuming.
Mm-hmm. Also, I liked that we got the title dropped by Timothy Dalton while he's driving the car.
Whoever she was must have scared the living daylights out of her.
Well done. Always the
title.
Yep. Yeah. Roll credits.
That's quite a view to a kill.
See, at least here, what Bond says makes some sense. You can use it. It's not just we're going to say the title. We're going to work the title in somehow.
Even still, I don't know how much the title has anything to do with anything going on in this movie. It doesn't use an idiom.
But really, based on it was a novella or a short that Fleming had written, and I think basically the only things that were pulled from that are that first sequence with the sniper and the defecting general, and that's basically it.
That's it.
They changed some locations. I think in the book it was East and West Germany, and here it's Austria and Poland.
Well, it's 87 now,
right? So. And then also but that was basically it. After that, it was a whole new story. But but what's James Bond without a villain?
General Pushkin, it's a pleasure. I'm Brad Whitaker. Didn't expect to see you in Tangiers.
So we have
there's the guy.
Yep, we've got 2 villains here. I completely forgot Joe Don Baker was in this movie.
I saw his name cross during the credits, and I was shocked and excited because I love that guy.
I had forgotten he was in this movie because I know he's going to show up in a later Bond movie that we're going to talk about, and that's what I remembered. So I was like, wait, all I saw was Joe Don Baker, and I was like, is he playing the same kid? No, he's not playing the same character. That guy didn't get introduced. I was so confused. And then, then I remembered, oh, yeah. And I mean, we've seen that plenty with this series where actors come back in different roles. Our M in this was a different role in The Spy Who Loved Me. Mm-hmm. But what did you think of the villain? So we had Jaron Krabbe, I'm going to go with. It's probably wrong, but I know Jaron. As Georgi Kozkov, and then Jodan Baker as Brad Whitaker. So what did you think of them as villains? Because our one review talked about how they were terrible villains.
I don't think they were terrible villains. I think it was hard for me to figure out who was a villain and when. It took me a long time to find, Koskov's a bad guy because he duped these people. Mm-hmm. I wish you could be in my brain. It's effectively the Charlie Day gif of the yarn going everywhere and making a little sense. But he was fine. I didn't find him interesting. It was like a backstabbing the backstabbers. It was one of those, what are you, a double agent kind of scenarios.
Yeah.
It was a lot to digest for him.
And I think the problem is, like most of this movie, my only detractions of it are too much. We don't need two villains. One villain in a Bond movie is fine. You have a villain, you have the henchman, there you go. Maybe throw in like a something KGB related, but that's about it. We didn't need a defecting KGB general and an American arms dealer. You could combine the two into one or the other.
Agent or KGB general, whatever, who's not actually defecting.
Yeah,
that was what threw me off so bad, because I was totally confused when he got kidnapped by Necros at the where he was hanging out with him and whatnot, and it was all big. I was so confused. I was like, wait, what is happening? Now, Jodan Baker, I liked him, but I think I liked him because he's Jodan Baker, and he was a villain that had a little bit of a comedic edge. No one here, to me, is the same as the villain from The Spy Who Loved Me. We're not at Goldfinger territory. We're not that dude. We're clowns with money.
And it's one of those things where Jodan Baker could be a very good villain, but because you do so much with Koskov, it takes away from Whitaker. Neither one of them gets enough to be an effective villain because they're both working together, but also kind of against each other in a little way. Like they're working together. They're on the same side, but they don't maybe fully trust each other. And it made the movie a little bit long too.
Yes.
It was 2 hours and 10 minutes, and you could have cut 10, 15 minutes out of this pretty easily.
We're still in the watch James Bond walk from place to place era.
There's
still
a
lot
bit
of that going on.
Or just scenes that we didn't need. Like if you don't have two villains, then we don't have to have the whole end action sequence on the airstrip, plus then an extra fight, because we got to tie up everything with Whitaker. Like Whitaker's got to be taken care of as well.
I know Jodan Baker has it in him to be a great villain, because I've seen Congo recently. And that man is terrifying in Congo as the billionaire with just too much money and an obsession with diamonds. Now, I know Congo's not a great movie, but if you watch it and you take that Jodan Baker and you make him Brad Whitaker in this movie, you got yourself something to look at. Because he really did, and they even make fun of him. You were never in the military. You were a mercenary here and there, and he's playing army. And I think that gave you that villain, that villain trope where it's a villain, but he's playing with toys. Like he's kind of childish, and it's all coming from this egotistical. This is what Jodan Baker felt like to me in this movie. So he lacked that intelligent villain. Like, how is this guy getting one over on MI6?
Yeah.
And because he's playing with army figures in his house, and he's dressed in a general uniform, but he's never been a general. It was interesting, but I feel like he could have done a lot better if they'd given him more sinister stuff.
And just more screen time. He just he pops up for a scene and then he's gone, and you forget about him. Like you just forget that he's there, and then, oh, by the way, I'm the big bad guy. It's like, well, okay, no. And it also takes away from Koskov.
Right.
Koskov can be
a real
that
bad
main
guy.
villain. Yeah.
Right. But he's also a cartoon because he's playing it up to everybody. Oh, I'm definitely scared of everything.
Yeah.
He's a cartoon. I feel like they could have made these two villains way scarier and way more workable with just like more stuff to do. Because you're right, Joe Don Baker isn't on the screen much, and I did enjoy watching him, but it probably wasn't providing the feeling that they were hoping it would for the audience.
I don't think they just didn't quite, and it's a bummer because I love both actors.
Yeah.
You know, Jaron Krabbe was in The Fugitive, and he's been in a bunch of stuff. He's always great. By the way, Koskov 100% dies in this movie. There's no way he survived. When that plane hits the Jeep that he's driving and explodes in a ball of flame, he's dead.
He's dead.
But he manages to jump out before it explodes into another ball of flame. And then just gets captured.
Of balls of flame. Lots of flame. Balls of Jeep. Then
he's just captured by the KGB off screen and shows up and then gets hauled away. Like, that was a little bit messy. But, you know, they're not bad. They're just we've seen so many better villains that are sinister and scary. Like A View to a Kill, I will say this, I like them better than Walken in A View to a Kill, only because in that it was telling us that he's crazy and then shooting all of his own men, and that's the way they prove it. Here, they never tried to be like, oh, you know, it's just Brad Whitaker. Oh, the arms dealer? That's it. That's all we know about him.
Right.
We don't talk about how he's a psychopath or anything like that. And Koskov is just a terrible cartoon character of a KGB Russian general. You know, no big deal. So, you know, they
were fine. I watched them. I didn't hate them. I just didn't think they had as much to offer as other much better Bond villains.
Yes, absolutely.
My cello, it's at the conservatoire.
Don't worry, I'll get you another in Vienna.
No, we must go back for it.
Our
the conservatoire. Let's get to the conservatoire. I love that.
Miriam Diabo as Kara Milvoy. So one thing I liked about this movie is we don't have the procession of random Bond girls for James to, like, there's not, typically you would always get sort of one maybe in the cold open, which we do have the woman on the boat, but
it's not gratuitous.
That one's not gratuitous and whatever. It's there and gone. And then after that, because that was the thing in A View to a Kill, right? We had like the Alison Doody character and another character and it's like, that's too many. It's too many for him to deal with. Here it's all Kara, the whole movie, and we get a actual like arc of a relationship a little bit here. You know, it starts off with her she's involved with Georgi, and he sets her up to be the sniper with the blanks and all that kind of stuff, and like all of that happens, and then Bond goes back to her, and now he's going to try and get information out of her. Like, he somehow instinctively knew she wasn't really a sniper. She wasn't actually trying to kill him, but now he's got to go find the information, so he pretends to be Koskov's friend to ingratiate with her. But you can see, to your point you mentioned earlier, like, you can see James honestly feeling something for her. If in no other way than, like, you know, she isn't a spy. She isn't really into this spycraft stuff. But it does, I mean, obviously it starts off in the false pretense because he's a secret agent, but the affection that he has for her actually feels earned over time.
It's a believable relationship. It reminds me of On Her Majesty's Secret Service a bit.
Yes.
Because George Lazenby's Bond in that, I mean, he was a womanizer because he was in that, you know, weird experiment place with women everywhere. That was a little gratuitous, but not the relationship with them, but the relationship with the Bond girl, I can't remember her name, that he eventually marries. Like, that through line was cool. And this reminded me of that, in that James Bond can build a relationship. I think this is the blueprint for future Bond girls for the most part. Someone who's carried through the movie and given more I mean, obviously, by the time you get to Casino Royale, there's like major relationship building kind of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, even GoldenEye had that. So I think this is where that kind of starts. And we're doing less of just throwing women at him because it wasn't working for Roger Moore. It was starting to get really gross. The amount of times he'd walk in a room and a woman was there just to be there for him. This is where it starts to make it a little. They're earning their keep better.
They're writing an actual character here.
Yes.
Instead of just a prop for James Bond to have in scenes. There's a character here because we get her, she is all about Koskov. She's his girlfriend, whatever, or he's her boyfriend, and she thinks that he's doing all this stuff for her, and even to the point where she drugs James. That was a great scene. I really liked that.
That was good. He's got to quit taking drinks from people. Like if you don't pour it, don't drink it. You're a secret agent. Yeah. But they had built their relationship by that point, so he trusted her. Foolishly, but he trusted her. She went, while he was gone, she found out more info, and because it was coming from Koskov, she believed it. But after seeing what they did, she turns, and then, so I liked it. There was actual progression through her. It's unfortunate that there are action sequences going on where she's basically just relegated to looking on and being confused. And then because when they have the whole diamond for heroin exchange and Bond takes off and she's like, he's trapped. We've got to go rescue him. And the Afghan rebels are like, well, no, we're not going to do that. And so she just grabs the AK off the guy's horse and takes off. Like, I liked that. And then when they go to the next scene, she's just standing there watching everything happen. Right. Yeah. She seemed so tough, but then they just didn't know how to keep it going.
Yeah. But overall, I did like her. And I think she had auditioned for something in A View to a Kill, maybe. And so they brought her back to do this one. Or maybe she was doing some screen tests, or I don't remember what it was, but I liked her. And, it was fun moments. I do love the action sequence where they take off in the car and they end up skiing. It's a Bond movie. You got to have skiing, but they ski in the cello case. Yeah.
That was a silly cartoon. That was so silly.
But that is very James Bond for me. Is the over the top type action sequence like that. It's the tank in St. Petersburg and GoldenEye or whatever. It's right on the edge of, it could definitely go too far, but they managed to somehow make it work for me in this. So.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. And him using the cello as like a
rudder
oar of some kind. It was pretty fun.
Especially when you learn later that it's a Stradivarius.
It's a Stradivarius.
And he's just... It's got a bullet hole in it now.
A shield and oh my gosh. Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. I liked her. I think Miriam, as Bond girls go, she's not super memorable to me, but she's a better Bond girl than many of the movies have had.
I agree with that. I love the note you put in the notes we've got about I have to get my cello before we leave town. Yes. Oh my gosh. I laughed out loud. That was probably one of the first times in this entire series I've just had sheer joy watching a scene. And that's because of Timothy Dalton playing it the way he did.
100%. Like the look on his face and that smash cut of just, oh God, what am I doing? Is so great.
And they're fitting it in this little Aston Martin and he pulls the seat forward and he can barely get the seat back and just... I could feel the irritation coming off of him. It was so good.
Also, when she goes to put it in the back seat and she shoves it in the car and it hits him in the face, which wasn't planned, and you can see Timothy Dalton, not James Bond. Timothy Dalton is like, "Why did you hit me with that?" But he can't brake, and he's a professional, and he gets through the scene and uses it. But it was so good that moment it just killed me.
It was perfect. I really, really enjoyed that a lot. The absurdity of fitting a cello in the back of a tiny Aston Martin.
So good.
Fort base. We have dangerous gas leaks in main building. Some personnel overcome.
henchmen. We've got Necros.
Necros.
Andreas Wisniewski plays Necros. Now, I remembered the character of Necros. Like, I remembered that it's been a while since I've seen this particular one, but I remembered the henchman being big, tall, blonde guy. I assumed Russian because of KGB stuff. Not, he's
Dolph
actually
Lundgren.
German. Yeah, he's some kind of like internet, just mercenary. But the actor, as I was watching it this time, I'm like, I know him. And I figured out what it was almost immediately. Because this movie was made and came out in 1987. In 1988, he was in a little movie you might have heard of called Die Hard. He plays Tony.
Oh, wow.
He is Tony, the brother of Carl in Die Hard, the first of the terrorists that gets killed by John McClane. He's got the glasses, and he's like he's the straight-laced one that John fights and chokes out on the stairs, and then he can't wear his shoes because they're too small.
Right.
Yeah, that's Andreas Wisniewski, played that character. And then he also was one of Max's underlings in the first Mission Impossible movie. And I remember seeing him in that. I think by that point he'd grown his hair out or something. But
yeah,
Necros, for the most part, not bad. Like, he's a good, effective Bond henchman. He's not Oddjob or Jaws. He's not that memorable because he doesn't have, like, he's just tall and blonde. He doesn't have that like weird quirk.
Yeah, he wears Levi's.
Yes.
which I don't know why that stood out to me in a world where everyone wears suits or khaki pants. We have our first blue jeans villain. And that's all I could think about is like, dude's got some jeans on. What's going to happen now? Who knows?
They kind of tried to play with, like, his quirk was he always had a Walkman, right? He had his headphones on a lot.
That's right.
That was sort of like, because his first couple of kills when he's going to that compound or choking people out with the cord from his headphones, that wouldn't work these days. You can't choke somebody out with AirPods.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But
you could shove it down their throat and hope to choke on it.
I did like him using, they dubbed his voiceover and he did different accents, like when he gets to the compound and he's the clip that I played where he's on the radio trying to confuse everybody. I did like that. He got the milk bottle bombs. That was a fun bit. That whole action sequence was really good.
I liked it a lot.
Did you know, or were you thinking, because the way when he comes out from killing the milkman and he comes walking out with the thing in his hand, the camera made it a point to like really focus on that. On the jugs of milk. Did you think those were going to come into play, or did you think it was just kind of a weird, quirky thing up until he threw one like a bomb?
Again, I watch a movie like a simple person, and I didn't think they were showing me anything. I was like, hey, milk bottles. All right, go. What are we doing? Get on with it. All I could think about at one point was, this place's security sucks. Like all of MI6 from the beginning, when they're just like, everybody will shoot with paintballs, and then the guy kills people, and no one's like, did you hear an actual gunshot?
Right? You would hear that.
Security, the security everywhere here is just trash. Just total trash.
Yeah, I mean, it's good hench work, though. He's solid. Necros is great.
He's great. I love it had that Indiana Jones big bad guy physical enemy kind of stuff. It gave him a really good fight at the end with the stunt work on the plane.
Oh,
that was great. That's probably, I know I said the best stunt work we saw at the beginning, but in general, this movie is the best stunt work overall we've seen in this entire series so far. And that shows you the lengths they're willing to go to now of how much action they're trying to infuse into. But think about the times. Think about the times, too, of where we're at now. 77, we watched Not a View to a Kill, The Spy Who Loved Me. The next year, Moonraker comes out because Star Wars. Well, now we're in the late 80s. I mean, Predator, Terminator, RoboCop, Commando.
Yeah.
Our action appetite, because of what we've been given by those movies, is changed.
Yes.
And chasing a guy up the stairs and judo chopping him in the kidney is just not going to work anymore.
Nope.
And they did a great job recognizing that.
Yeah. Instead, we get two guys hanging off the back of a plane, like literally hanging off the back of that stunt was nuts. And I know I sent you that video from the Corridor crew, and I had you watch that, and their reaction to it is so good because they're like, holy crap. Like, that's what we see Tom Cruise doing nowadays. And here's some stuntmen doing it 35 years ago.
And getting slammed. There's one dude got hurt doing that. He goes up and down into that ramp real hard. It was so good. The action in this wasn't just a step above what we've seen. It was a leap. It really, took James Bond from kind of running after people and kicking them in the behind to real solid, brutal fights and hanging off stuff. And I really am excited to see what we get in the next one if they've drive that up even further. Because, I mean, I'm old enough to remember GoldenEye, and there was great stunt work in that too. Oh, yeah. So it's just we're off to the races now. We've entered a new era with Timothy Dalton.
We really have. One other henchman character, I just have to mention him because the sergeant on Whitaker's compound was an absolute cartoon character, and I loved every second he was on screen. He would come in with the over-exaggerated military like stomp salutes, and it was so dumb, and I loved it.
When it goes to the Whitaker's built himself in his head to be a general that he's not. And I love that when you have a general who's not a general, who's made everyone they're paying play a role for them to keep this illusion going in their head. It reminded me, this is way, way out there, but my kid was playing Super Mario RPG recently, and there's a character in that called Booster, and he runs this big tower, and Booster's tower, and he plays with toys, and he's a maniac, and everybody's like, do whatever Booster needs you to do, but he's a crazy person, and I love that villain. It just tickles me to no end.
Wonderful. This falls into this category. I just got some weird sounds that happened throughout it. I don't know who this is, but this was just a scream. I think this is in the fight at the compound with Necros. That one was really good. We had an that I really liked.
That's a good
for
one.
whatever reason. And at the end, when Miriam is driving that Jeep and the guy jumps on the hood of it. First of all, she turns on the windshield wipers to try and get
I
him
love when they do that. That's she's not the first to ever do it. Won't ever be the last, but it's funny to me.
But also, apparently, she can hit like Indiana Jones because she slapped at the guy and it made this sound. And it was great. It was just fantastic.
That's wonderful.
It was just wonderful. All of it. So good.
What the hell are you trying to do, 007? Start World War III?
Felix Leiter. Now, what's the CIA doing here?
All right. So
Felix.
We had two villains. That was probably one villain too many. In terms of allies to James, we got a lot.
Way too many.
Of course, we're going to have M. That's fine. Robert Brown is back as M. And he's only in a couple of scenes, as M usually is. I did think it was funny at the beginning where he's got his office inside the plane. And then when they open the back door and all his papers start going everywhere, like he wouldn't know that would happen. It was pretty funny to me. Felix Leiter is back. I think this is the first Felix Leiter since I want to say I read it was Live and Let Die was the last time Felix Leiter had been in an episode. So he basically wasn't in most of the Roger Moore run. And we got a new Moneypenny.
Yes, we did.
The first instance of someone else playing Moneypenny. And they don't mention it, of course. It's just someone different. But she's great. She's doing the Moneypenny thing, right? Flirting with James and doing stuff for him. I liked that. But we also we have a different British agent of some kind from a different department, Saunders. I liked him. I liked Saunders. It was a bummer that he had to get killed off. But if you have him and Felix, it's sort of the two villain thing. It's too many. It's one too many.
Yeah.
You could have combined them. Plus you throw in John Rhys Davies as Pushkin, right? The head of the KGB, who is also sort of an ally. They try to make you think like he's the bad guy, and go in that direction, and then of course red herrings and whatnot.
Just throw Steven for a loop. Why don't we with this? Because I really thought he was going to be the main villain because he's John Rhys Davies. So
yeah, I
thought, let's do this. John Rhys Davies, a villain. I'm in. Take my money. And then he wasn't. I was like, never mind.
And again, it's too many characters that you could have trimmed to streamline things. I think you combine Saunders and Felix. You don't kill the character off and you let it be Felix, or you don't have Felix and you just let it be Saunders.
Right.
Either way works for me. But I thought Thomas Wheatley as Saunders was pretty good. The Minister of Defense is there for a scene or two.
Right.
As he has been since, I think, Live and Let Die. He's been in like every movie. So
I don't think I like the way that they did Felix this time around. It seemed weird that Felix had this odd two women who were gonna trick James, but it wasn't just for tricking James because they were there much later as his team. It just felt weird, and I didn't really like. I felt like that didn't have to be Felix. That could have been someone else.
That's kind of my point, right? Is either run with that and make Felix and Saunders into one character, and that's who James is working with. And it's like a combined effort between MI6 and the CIA to get Koskov to defect.
Right.
And all of that. And then it makes more sense because I kind of got a little Charlie's Angels feel from like Felix has got his team.
Yes, very much so.
Again, they're just not in it long enough for me to care. It's just, we're going to put Felix in here. And that's a bummer because it's not fair to Felix as a character.
No, but I was glad that James didn't attempt to sleep with these two women.
No.
Which would have happened in the Roger Moore era. He would have slept with both of them in the car before they got to where they were going.
And again, now the character of Pushkin, John Rhys Davies' character, was originally going to be General Gogol.
Okay.
But Walter Gotell, who plays that character, he got ill and he couldn't get insured. No, the insurance company wouldn't cover him. Like Broccoli was even willing to pay extra to have him in, and they were like, nope. So they end up casting John Rhys Davies, change the character to General Pushkin, and go that route. And then Gotell could show up for like a cameo. So they just changed his character to be in the Foreign Service for Russia now.
Okay.
And
and
did that.
Speaking of actors' insurance, I want a boring documentary that explains all the minutia of like behind the scenes production work. I get watching a making of where you watch the director make magic. I want what in the world is the producer doing in the background to get all this to happen? I want that documentary. I'm the only one who wants it. There's no one else in the world who wants to watch a boring documentary about behind the scenes executive function. I do. I want to see how that all works.
I would read a book on that.
I would watch a movie, read a book, all the things. It's my favorite part, like the minutia. Let me have
a podcast. Maybe a nice podcast giving some explanation into that kind of stuff would be cool.
Yeah. Well, how does insurance work in the movies?
But yeah, I mean, overall, it's just too many characters, and we needed to streamline them down. Like I like the stuff they did with Pushkin. I thought that was kind of cool to have James, because he's not working with the KGB, but he's got at least a little bit of history with the guy, which is why he didn't immediately go to kill him. And I love the line of, if I trusted Koskov, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right.
Was really good. And then them setting up like the fake assassination. I liked that. They just needed to, again, Saunders and Felix, one or the other. We don't need both to just have Saunders get killed off. Because I liked him. I liked him as a character. I thought he was, fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I will say one ally you left off of here that I guess is an ally. Art Malik is Kamran Shah.
Right. Yes.
You didn't bring him up in the notes, and that guy is when I went, oh man, that's the terrorist from True Lies.
It is.
I thought it was, and it was. That guy's cool. I like that dude. That's all I wanted to say.
No, he's good. That's another part where it's just like, it's one character
too many. Too many. I agree with that.
The Afghan freedom fighters and like I get it from a plot standpoint with the Soviets and the Afghans, and it was topical at the time, but it's just one too many. So
yeah,
it is what it is. It's fine. Again, none of this is bad. It's just a little bit too much.
Now, pay attention, 007.
Q Branch. We get Q Branch. Q is in the movie.
Great.
Loved it. Loved all of it. First of all, I love
something we're making for the Americans. It's called a ghetto blaster.
that was something else.
By the way, so according to the trivia, that rocket that they fire off in the Q department was actually triggered by King Charles III. Back when he was Prince Charles, he and Princess Di were on set that day, and they offered him to be able to hit the button to launch the rocket. Which I think
how
is cool.
about that? Yeah, that's kind of neat.
Because he was a big fan, I guess, or is a big fan. So yeah, Q was great. I love like the ghetto blaster is such a silly thing because I remember those as just boom boxes in general. So to put a rocket into it was a lot of fun. Q showing up in the beginning when they get Kozkov out through the pipeline, which was a hilarious scene, and then Q's right there.
I love that whole sequence. The pipe escape thing was just fun. I love that container was it had to be 8 feet long, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at one point in that pipe track that we're watching, like we're watching a Wile E. Coyote cartoon, it takes a hard 90. There's no way that thing is making that turn. It's not going to work.
The fun thing is that that pig is a real thing. A scrub pig for those pipelines exists. It's meant to they just had to modify it to fit a person in there.
Right.
To make it that size. But no, it was a total cartoon. Like
it was so funny.
Right down to the Russian woman that's working maintenance that distracts the guard.
Yes.
Was hilarious.
She was the voluptuous maintenance woman.
So good. All of it was ridiculous. Great. But just and then later on we get, obviously Bond comes into Q Branch. They're repainting the Aston Martin. And I like Q's just like, yeah, we're just winterizing it. Oh, come this way. And he's, showing him stuff, and he shows him the keychain. I love the keychain.
That was used multiple times.
Yeah. Which is different. We don't normally see gadgets used more than once.
No.
So that was a lot of fun. I also liked when Bond is trying to find out about Miriam, and Q is going over like different Russian assassins, because this cracked me up.
Assassination method, explosive teddy bears.
It's just the delivery of explosive teddy bears.
I love Desmond Llewellyn. Like I love him. He is Q and always will be.
Always will be. And the most ridiculous gadget in the movie is the hide a couch. And he has to sit down on it, and it just folds him in there, and then Q just sits down on it.
That's so good. That's so good. I loved it.
And we talked a little bit about like the fact that the movie toes the line of going too far, but it also has like the Aston. It's a great Aston Martin.
Oh yeah,
love the car.
Love the car,
and it's got all the toys. It's got the laser cutter. It's got the missile.
Rockets.
The rockets. It's got skis that come off the side of it, and a rocket engine. Yeah.
Self-destruct button.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I don't care what kind of car you're driving. Ice is ice. You're not going to be able to do some of those turns that James Bond did without sliding all over, turning a full circle.
Although it did have the spikes, the studs in the tire.
But that
wasn't until after he had done some stuff.
Right. That was after he'd made perfect right turns around trucks and stuff.
Yeah. Interestingly, and I did not know this, this was the first Aston Martin since On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Moore never got one.
Moore never had an Aston.
He did have the submarine car, though, the Lotus.
He did. He had the Lotus. That was a damn cool car.
That's cool. Probably more memorable than the Aston in this movie.
Honestly, yes. Because the Aston in this is, when you think of James Bond car, you think of having the rockets and the skis and the stud tires and the lasers and all of that. So this is there, but it doesn't stand out the way the Lotus did. because the Lotus looked so different, and it became a submarine.
Yes.
Although I did like him using the laser cutter and cutting the car off its frame.
That was hilarious. That was
salt
wonderful.
corrosion.
It's really good.
But yeah, I mean, it's high quality Q branch stuff. That's The Living Daylights. The first turn for Timothy Dalton. I like this one quite a bit. I think overall, for me, Dalton is a step up from Moore in just the overall films. His portrayal of Bond, I like better. I like Roger Moore. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't think there's a bad actor that played James Bond. I just like Dalton better for the grittier way that he did it, and while still being able to deliver, gave him the boot or salt corrosion or whatever little one-liners. They felt. I think what it is, those moments don't feel as contrived to me.
He can deliver it better than Roger Moore does.
Yeah.
Roger Moore almost winks at the camera when he does it.
Yes.
It doesn't feel natural. It feels like he's doing it for us.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. There's the camp is still there, but they dialed it back a little bit. I think also having your James Bond actor showing up in a lot more stunt work, and doing some more stunts. And even when there's obvious, set stuff or rear projection things, it doesn't feel as out of place. It doesn't feel like watching one person and then, oh, here's an insert shot of somebody standing in front of a blue screen. Instead, it feels like they did a good job of meshing it all together.
And this was too. We're getting into new filmmaking techniques. We've learned some new things. The technology's different than it ever was before. Like it seemed like the Roger Moore era was sticking to kind of the same script in terms of visual stuff and what they were willing to do, and then getting a new actor gives them a bit of a fresh coat of paint.
It does.
We've got an opportunity. We're in transition. Let's try some new cool stuff. Let's get some new ideas. Let's do this new, we've got a younger Bond now who's willing to do these things. Yep. They just had a whole lot going for them in revitalizing the brand a little bit. And I think that shows in this movie for sure.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to have a similar conversation in a few episodes regarding Daniel Craig. We'll see how that goes. But it's a great moment. I just wish I wish Dalton had gotten more chances to be James Bond, because I think he's really good in the role and he looks the part and all of that. Overall, though, this is I think just a step up for us from our last two. Like Spy Who Loved Me was a lot of fun, and it did have Jaws, and there's great things about it. But I like this as a movie overall more. The interesting thing is I like The Living Daylights more than, say, The Spy Who Loved Me, and definitely more than A View to a Kill. Yet, Spy Who Loved Me has things that I remember more, with Jaws, with the Lotus, the Atlantis the floating, the villain. So it's interesting how that can work.
I want to put Dalton. I want Dalton to take the job instead of Moore, and we're having a totally different discussion. I feel like so. Dalton is much better Bond than Moore. I know it seems like I was taking a crap on him earlier. I wasn't really. There's just things I didn't like, but at the end of the day, I still enjoy him more than Roger Moore. And it's a shame because like part of me wants to look at these movies and go, what if this movie was in 1989 and we had more that we could do that would make sense? Because I think all these stories are great and they all have something to offer, but they're held back by their time. They're held back for the culture. Like, I don't really enjoy watching Sean Connery slap a woman and then kiss her. That's messed up. Like, there's nothing good about that. But you bring it up to 87, you treat women like was treated in this movie. You give the role to Timothy Dalton, and a pretty awesome flick. A pretty good movie going on. So it's interesting to watch it. This has been a really fascinating series so far to me, because we're not just watching, James Bond from thing to thing. We're watching cinema and culture grow.
No, because they've been doing these since the 60s. We're seeing these different eras of filmmaking happen.
Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating so far. And I really am excited to see what Timothy Dalton does next, if he grows on me more in the next movie. Because I'm sitting there thinking about if he were to do On Her Majesty's Secret Service, that would have been great. Like at this age, doing that movie, I like George Lazenby a lot. But
I do too. But man,
great.
Just thinking about like, because he was, I think Timothy Dalton was like 40, 41 doing this movie, and I'm just imagining him getting started with James Bond at like 33.
Yes. That would be
and going through into his mid 40s, doing about 10 years worth of Bond films if he wanted to do that many of them. I mean, he gets 4 or 5 movies solidly, and it's really interesting. Instead, he only got the 2. This one did okay, and it did enough. They did another one, and next time we're going to be watching the highest rated of the 2 Timothy Daltons, which is License to Kill. And I'm excited to talk about that one because I do have some vivid memories, and I can't wait to hear what you think about certain people popping up in the cast of License to Kill.
Oh, interesting. I will say, as I was trying to search for information on License to Kill, spell it like the Brits do. It's not spelled the American way with an S at the end. It's spelled with a C. So you will not find License to Kill if you're not spelling it correctly, because they did not do internationalization on that title.
This is true.
Because I went looking for it with Rotten Tomatoes. Where's this movie? I know that's what it's called. It's spelled, yes, I'm going to say it, British fans, incorrectly. Send your emails.
Yep. And you can send those emails to 24fpspresents@gmail.com. Tell us how we're wrong. Or do you agree with us? Or do you like Timothy Dalton as James Bond? What do you think? Where do you put him in your rankings of James Bonds? We want to know. You can tell us there. You can find us on Blue Sky, 24fpspresents.bsky.social. Or leave us a voicemail, voicecast.app/24fps. Leave us a voicemail. Tell us what you think about this. We want to hear from you.
And be sure to check out Travis's other work at tvstravis.com. And you can also find all the stuff for me at thatstephenadams.com.
Yeah. Including, we've got links to our Letterboxd profiles, social media stuff where we talk about, other projects we do, the other show we do on Classic TV together. Those were the days with our good friends Amy Frost and Audie Norman.
Yep.
So definitely check all that out. And Stephen and Travis will return in License to Kill.